I'm sure all of you guys have heard the news by now. Benny, a lot of you guys know him as a comic historian, passed away this last weekend. And I won't go into what happened because Natalie and them didn't say what happened publicly. And honestly, if it's not something that she's comfortable saying publicly, I don't think it's my place to do that. I'll simply just reiterate what she said, which was that it was an accident. And everybody's remembering him in their own way. And so this is this is my way. This This is a eulogy for my friend. Old school fans of the YouTube comic book scene, right? You guys know that, like, Benny and I came up together, man. Like, Benny wasn't like a friend. He wasn't like a brother. It felt bigger than that, right? It just felt so much bigger than that. Like, the connection that I felt like we had was just more than that. I can't put a name to it. I can't describe it, right? I don't know, like, how to define it. It's a feeling, right? And I guess maybe, some people will say it was fate that, like, we met because we both launched our channels within 3 months of each other. Our birthdays are within a month of each other. It's like we were destined to be friends. And back then, YouTube was a whole different beast. YouTube was a whole different ballgame. It's not like it is now. Everybody has it easy now, right? You got YouTube Shorts. Everybody knows how the algorithm works. Thanks to Mr. Beast, it's not hard. Back then, it was the Wild West, right? I don't even think YouTube knew how their algorithm worked. And I remember tweeting out to CNanners, who was a content creator that I followed for years. And in fact, he actually inspired me to become a YouTuber. I remember tweeting out to him and I asked him, how do you grow? And he said, network and make friends. And of course, this was back when YouTube had like an actual messaging service. You can message people back and forth. And so I sent a message out to all these different people. And like Benny was the only one who really answered. And he and I were kind of going back and forth. We were talking and we agreed to launch like the weekly poll. And the weekly poll initially started with myself, Benny, and Dave. Dave wasn't the best choice. He was a cool guy, but he wasn't the best choice. And then we met Sal. And I don't remember who it was that found Sal, if it was me or if it was Benny, but like one of us found him. And like right there, like we became the Trinity. I can't snap. There we go. We became like the Trinity of the comic book YouTube scene, it felt like, But back then, we had enough money to like quit our jobs, but not enough money to say that we were like YouTube rich. You know what I mean? Like YouTube money. So we were like barely scraping by, paying bills and stuff. That meant that like whenever we went to cons and things like that, like myself and Benny would have to like split hotel rooms all the time. And the first time that he and I split a hotel room, which I don't even think was at New York that year. I think I split it with Dave. We spent the whole time walking the con floor, all that kind of stuff, and Benny was trying to move into the direction of potentially interviewing like comic book writers, like comic book, artists and things like that. So we were walking around like microphones, talking to people, things along those lines. And so the night starts to wind down, right? We head back to the hotel room, right? We get in the room, we got like 2 queen beds, and Benny walks in and he says, Rob, I hope you're ready. And I said, ready for what? He kicked off his shoes. And what followed was the most putrid smell that I think I have ever smelled in my entire life. It smelled horrible. It smelled horrible. And we just had to deal with it. And it was just like, I was like, God, man, what happened to your feet? And this dude sticks his foot out at me and wiggles his toes. It was it was stuff like that that made Benny Benny. Like, Benny was always the loudest voice in the room. I don't care what anybody said. Benny was the loudest voice in the room. When Benny got to a room, you knew that Benny was in that room. You knew it was the way he walked, the way he talked, the whole 9 yards. In fact, I think it was, I don't know if it was him that told me the story. Somebody told me a story where he said that Benny had gone to a Comic-Con one year. I want to say it was New York Comic-Con, and Comic Book Girl 19 had a panel. She's, I don't know if she does anything anymore, but she was like one of the bigger YouTubers back when Benny and I were first starting, right? Like, we were like, that is the here and now goal, and then hopefully get past it. And supposedly, Benny crashed her panel. He came barging into the room where her panel was. And everybody was more excited to see him than they were to see her. I don't know how true it was. I don't know how true any of that is. But I would like to believe that it's true. I would like to believe that it's happened, that it happened. But yeah, man, like, you never, there was never a time when you didn't know where you stood with Benny, right? If he liked you, he'd give you the clothes off, like give you the shirt off his back. I don't know if you'd want all of Benny's clothes, but he'd give you the shirt off his back. If he didn't like you, you would know, right? But you guys remember that line from Fast and the Furious when Vin Diesel's sister was talking about like the nature of Vin Diesel, and she was talking about how like he had his own gravity and he would just pull people into his orbit? That was Benny, man. That was Benny. Like, you wanted to be in the Benny Potter circle of trust, man. Like, you wanted to be there. Because if you were, the times were good, right? It was amazing. And there were so many great memories that I had with him. Some that were funny, but honestly, the best ones, man, are when he and I were just talking about stuff. Like, I remember it was before we hit 1 million subscribers. Benny didn't think we would. Benny didn't think we would hit 1 million subscribers. I always did. I was always sure we would hit 1 million subscribers. There's no way we don't hit 1 million. At the rate that we're growing, we have to just like drop off right now. There's no way we don't hit 1 million. This is back when, our channels were pulling in anywhere between like 30 to 50,000 subscribers a month, which, given the size of our channels back then, was insane. Like, you guys got to remember, like, for me and Benny, we went from starting out our channels to hitting 1 million subscribers within the span of maybe 3 years. On average, it takes most YouTube channels an average of 5 years to break 100,000 subscribers, right? Now, a lot of that was just because we built our channels in the midst of the comic the comic boom and movies and the height of the MCU, right? Phases 2, phases 3, that kind of thing. But, yeah, I want to say we were maybe at like PAX South before they shut it down in San Antonio. And all of us were there, right? It was myself, it was Benny, it was Natalie, it was Dan, Houston, there were a whole bunch of us who were there. And I don't remember if it was like if we had ordered our food or we were done eating or whatever it was, but like there was a kind of dock off to the side. And so I get up and I walk over there, right? I'm like, I'll go over there to vape or something like that. Can't put my damn vape down, right? Mariah calls it my pacifier. But I go over there to vape, and Benny comes over, and he and I are just talking, right? And outside of us talking about whether or not we'll hit 1 million subscribers, I don't really know. But we were just like talking, because truthfully, man, like, and I don't say this, to come across arrogant or anything like that, but it felt like we were like the 1-2 punch of the comic book, like the YouTube comic book scene. You know what I mean? Like, we were living life like rock stars, and it was amazing. You know, but one of the things a lot of people don't know is Benny actually saved my YouTube channel. Benny saved my YouTube channel. People who have been part of my channel for a long time know I was in a really, really bad, dark place. I was burned out, all that kind of stuff. And it was YouTube back then, right? You're not a YouTuber unless you've experienced burnout, right? That's just the way that it goes. And I remember Benny told me, he was like, hey man, like myself and Natalie were going down to Disney World with Sean and Danielle, and like come down there and hang out. Right. And because of where I was at that point in my headspace, I didn't want to go. I was like, I'm not going down there. That's not going to happen. This guy turned into Will Ferrell from The Office, right? Get your ass downstairs. Right. So he like makes me buy a plane ticket, makes me get the hotel room. Right. So we're staying at like the French Quarter Hotel, whatever it was, down in Disney World. Right. We're sitting there getting breakfast, worst breakfast there ever was. Sitting there getting breakfast. And Benny tells me, he's like, man, dude, you're burned out. I can hear it in your voice. I can see it in your face. Your fans can see, everybody can see it. Like, you're burned out. If you stay the course, you're going to quit. And I remember telling him, I was like, I don't know if I want to do it anymore. And he literally lines it out for me. He's like, you understand what you're doing right now is a job people would kill for, right? Like, your job is to just talk about comic books, man. Like, we did the 9-to-5 grind. We've worked, like we did our dirt, and now it's paying off, right? Like, do not quit. If you quit now, you are going to reject it or you're going to regret it for the rest of your life. And so he's like, hire a staff, hire somebody, right? I remember him telling me explicitly, if he had not hired Dan, he would have burned out, right? Dan is what literally saved him from getting burned out, from the whole YouTube burnout. And so, like, I did that. I came back to, like, I was living in Lexington, Kentucky at the time, came back home, hired a buddy of mine named Gordon, and I never looked back, because it literally saved my YouTube career. And that's how Benny was, man. Like, when he was in your corner, he was in your corner. He was fiercely loyal to his friends. I loved that about him. I respected that so much about him. He was so loyal, and to my shame, I was not always the best friend that I could have been. My vacuum is going off. Let's turn this thing off. Yeah, so to my shame, I was not the best friend. Not the absolute best friend that I could have been. I had things that I was struggling with, on a mental and emotional level. And instead of reaching for the friendship that we had, I pulled away. And that was due to my lack of emotional intelligence. It was due to the fact that I didn't really understand what I was struggling with at the time. And I know that in the end, he knew I loved him. He knew that we were friends. That was never in question. I mean, I saw him 2 hours before it happened. Not even that. 20 minutes. I lost my friend. And I could never get him back. So, clearly I need a break. I'm in no condition to record videos, and truthfully, Yeah, I'm in no condition to do it at the moment. I don't know, maybe give myself a few weeks, but Natalie did mention in her Twitter post that everybody needs space. We all need space to process. We all need space to come to terms, and to move forward the best way that any of us know how. So give us that. For those of you guys who are on the Discord servers, from what I can tell, Benny's Discord server has created a particular place for people to leave their thoughts and their prayers, for Natalie and everybody, out there and on Benny's team. My staff on my Discord server will do the same thing. But yeah, we need time. So as much as we appreciate everybody's outpouring of support, if you guys could keep your well wishes and everything to Discord or to social media or something like that, that would be great, because it'll give us a chance to just be there for each other and to cope and figure out what life looks like without Benny. But I'll be honest with you guys, man. There are times in this world when you are going to meet people and they are going to impact your life in a way that you can't imagine. Benny's death changes everything. It changes me. I don't know that I'll ever get past this. But I know I'll never forget him. Anyway. We're going to bring this video to an end. And I will catch you all later.